Good morning from the Space Coast of Florida, where we are witnessing a beautiful sunrise as we fly high above the rocket and spacecraft bound for the International Space Station. Liftoff of NASA's Boeing crew flight test set for 10:52 and 15 seconds a.m. Eastern Time.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4.
I feel the liftoff. The clock has started.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Godspeed, John Glenn.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket Tranquility, we copy on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
2, 1, 0. Liftoff. America's return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, Roger, go for deploy.
And everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Roger, nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
And here are the astronauts who will fly for the first time ever in Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. Commander Butch Wilmore and pilot Suni Williams, as you can see, suiting up for their mission into the history books. Good morning, and welcome to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida for NASA's Boeing Crew Flight Test, or CFT. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz.
And I'm Dee Russell with Boeing Communications. Also joining us today is NASA astronaut Mike Fink. Great to have you here.
Good morning. Third time's the charm. Beautiful day outside. The rocket's ready. The crew's getting suited up. This is an awesome day.
Yeah, beautiful start to the day so far, again, with that gorgeous sunrise we saw. And as you alluded, this is our third attempt to launch Butch and Suni on a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket. And Starliner teams last tried launching on Saturday, but stood down just minutes before liftoff because of a power issue in a piece of ground support equipment. We'll have more about that in just a few minutes.
NASA and Boeing want to certify Starliner for regular flights to the International Space Station as part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Mike, why is it so important to have a second commercial spacecraft that can take astronauts to and from the space station from American soil?
We call it dissimilar redundancy. So the more chances, the more ways that we can send humans into space, the better it is for NASA and for our country and for the planet. Right now, we can get to space with a Soyuz or with a Dragon, and today we're going to show we can get there with a Starliner, and soon Artemis. So we're going to have lots of different options, of different ways for people to go to space, and this will help our economy, and this is and the space station and our scientific program.
Now, as we are back in the suit-up room, a reminder for everyone that CFT will only be the 6th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new spacecraft designed for crew. And the last time an Atlas-class rocket sent humans to space was 61 years ago for the final flight of NASA's Mercury program. Now, Mike, I know you're great friends with both Butch and Suni, and you got to speak with them late last night. So how are they feeling going into this third launch attempt?
I am very impressed with my colleagues for being such optimists and such professionals. They've been in quarantine for a long time. We've been waiting for over 5 years to get Starliner launched, but they are very excited about today. You can see that they're focused on getting the job done, and they are very ready for this mission. And they wish all of us a great experience in joining them on this great journey.
Now, as you can tell, guys, we are very fortunate to have Mike here with us because he's a veteran of 3 space flights. Expedition 9 in 2004. You'll see a photo coming up here soon. Expedition 18 in 2009, and then STS134 in 2011. In total, he's spent more than a year in space and has conducted 9 spacewalks. He then worked with NASA's Commercial Crew Program to help bring SpaceX's Dragon and now Boeing's Starliner online and ready for today's flight test. And he trained alongside Butch and Suni as their backup pilot and was with them for CFT's first launch attempt. We saw him in the suit-up room snapping pictures there, and then he rode out to the launch pad with them where he snapped a few more pictures before handing off some of Butch and Suni's belongings to the pad team. And now he was here with us on the host desk on Saturday and is back again to provide valuable insight into this flight test. And you'll also be taking notes, right, Mike, because you will be the pilot of Starliner's first operational mission after CFT.
Yes, that's the point of crew flight test, is so that we can certify Starliner to go to the International Space Station on a regular basis, just like we did with Dragon a few years ago. So this is an exciting time. A lot of things are resting on this mission, but Butch and Suni are prepared. The launch control team's prepared. Mission control's prepared. The management and leadership are prepared, and I think we're prepared here.
Thumbs up for me.
There is a lot to learn about this crew flight test, so we have people here in Florida and in Texas to help explain every part of this mission. Let's start first with ULA's Dylan Rice and Boeing's Lauren Brennicke, who are monitoring the spacecraft and rocket from the United Launch Alliance's Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center, or ASOC.
Well, that's right, Lauren. Atlas V and Centaur are fueled and ready to go. But looking back at our experience over the weekend here during our second CFT launch attempt on Saturday, we held our terminal count at T-minus 3 minutes 50 seconds because of an issue detected by our ground launch sequencer. After the scrub, our technicians and engineers worked overnight to assess all of our ground support equipment at the launch pad. The assessment identified an issue with a single ground power supply within a redundant computer chassis that supplies power to a set of cards which control various system functions. That power supply fault caused several cards to go offline, and shortly after we entered terminal count, the ground launch sequencer attempted to verify the appropriate level of redundancy during terminal count, and when it received the feedback that those cards were offline, the ground launch sequencer terminated the countdown. On Sunday, that chassis that contained the faulty ground power unit was removed, visually inspected, and replaced with a spare chassis. We didn't find any physical indications of significant failure with it, so we'll be doing a full failure analysis on that power unit. Meanwhile, with the new equipment in place, we have performed a full functional checkout of the chassis and all the cards. All the hardware is performing nominally. So with that, we are complete with cryogenic tanking today. All tanks are in topping mode. Tanking and all of our operations today have gone very smoothly so far. All of our pre-launch checks are basically complete. As you said, the readiness poll has been completed for pad entry, and the blue team will be arriving shortly back on the pad to complete final checks before the crew arrives.
So a lot of work going on over the last couple of days. Starliner has been powered on since that last attempt, with our teams monitoring the health of the vehicle and its systems really around the clock.
Ascent begins at T-0, liftoff, the end of the countdown, and the beginning of the mission. Shortly afterwards, at T plus 12 seconds, the rocket rolls, lining up Starliner with its target orbit and putting the astronauts in a heads-up position. Then, around T plus 40 seconds, max Q starts. That's also known as max aerodynamic pressure. This is a critical time when the atmospheric forces reach their highest. Next, at about plus 1 minute 35 seconds, the two solid rocket boosters run out of fuel and burn out, and about a minute later they separate from the booster. The Atlas booster engine continues to burn for almost 2 more minutes. Then at approximately plus 4:30, booster engine cutoff, or BECO. About 5 seconds later, the booster separates, and so does the ascent cover on top of Starliner. At around 4 minutes 45 seconds, the Centaur upper stage ignites, continuing the push to orbital speeds. Then a little after 5 minutes, Starliner is free of the atmosphere and doesn't need additional aerodynamic support, and the aeroskirt is jettisoned. After a long 6+ minute push from Centaur, main engine cutoff, or MECO, happens around 12 minutes after liftoff. Then, when Centaur successfully separates almost 15 minutes after launch, ULA's job is done. But Starliner is not quite in orbit yet. After a 16-minute coast, Starliner ignites 4 of its orbital maneuvering and attitude control, or OMAC engines, for the orbital insertion burn, and then 31 minutes after liftoff, the ascent profile is complete.
Flight software is in ascent mode. It is now set for the uphill climb.
$159. Vehicle internal. 155. Launch sequencer start. 150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Steering Centaur LO2.
Vehicle is now transferred to its onboard batteries, and topping is
140.
completed.
Launch enabled. 137. FTS armed. $120. OCU's armed. SCS count started. EDS ascent.
Starliner, last arm to auto.
Last arm auto.
Roger.
That call meaning if the emergency detection system on Atlas detects something,
Rock report range status.
Range green. 54. POP started.
it will trigger the launch abort system on Starliner and fire automatically. If that happened, the spacecraft would push itself away from the rocket a mile up and a mile out.
Atlas at flight press.
Centaur at flight press. 25.
Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go Starliner. Godspeed, Butch and Suni.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V, carrying 2 American heroes, drawing a line to the stars for all of us.
Commander Butch, Wilmore, they're calling down to Mission Control here in Houston that the spacecraft has begun rolling into the right attitude for its ascent, and the Guidance, Navigation, and Control Officer here in the room seeing good data on that.
Starliner passing through max Q, or the point of maximum dynamic pressure where the forces of air friction are highest, which in Suni will shortly be passing through Mach 1, where the speed of sound.
You got a good throttle up.
Starliner and Atlas. Looking good with speeds and attitude increasing as expected. Coming up in less than 20 seconds, the solid rocket boosters will run out of fuel and burn out.
Good SRB burnout.
Good SRB.
Now that the fuel in the solid rocket boosters has been depleted, the Atlas main booster stage will be continuing its burn for about the next 3 minutes.
Good handle.
Good handle.
That call, good handle, from Capcom Joshua Kutrick, indicating that the crew now has the ability to initiate an abort manually if needed. All looking good so far. Now 2 minutes into Starliner's flight and coming up on the solid rocket booster jettison at the 2-minute and 40-second mark.
CLT net, good trajectory.
CLT.
The solid rocket boosters have now been jettisoned after seeing Starliner through its first 90 seconds of flight. Team on the ground here confirming that it was a good jettison and the vehicle's trajectory continues to look good now at 3 minutes into today's flight.
Atlas booster now throttling back to limit the G-forces on Butch and Suni, and trying to limit that to around 3.5 times the force of gravity you'd feel while on the ground.
Staging.
Here on the ground.
Decals open. You have sublimator act.
Decal, sub act. Decal. Great.
Team on the ground reporting that they saw the ascent cover on top of Starliner that's been protecting the spacecraft's docking system through its climb to orbit. They saw that jettison as planned.
Staging was good. You have good control.
And now the second stage's 2 Centaur engines have ignited to continue pushing Starliner into space, fueled by liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. The next milestone that we'll be watching for is the aeroskirt jettison.
Starliner, you had good booster performance. You're up to plus 31.
Plus 31.
Atlas Control reporting booster performance offset of 31 seconds of ISP, or specific impulse, relative to its design baseline of around 450.
We take a look. That was a good OI burn. You're maneuvering to NavCal 1.
Good OI burn, going to NavCal 1.
And with that call up, both crew and flight controllers agreeing that that was a good OI burn. I'm looking at the trajectory plot here in Mission Control. I see our trajectory pointing us directly up to the altitude we need to go to for the next burn. Right now, Starliner is moving into NavCal mode, or NavCal attitude. That's going to be the first of several positions that Starliner, directions that Starliner points itself to track some of the stars from the Starliner and update the position inside of the position orientation of Starliner inside of its guidance, navigation, and control algorithms.
And of course, you're seeing lots of happy faces and cheers here in Florida. Everybody glad to see Starliner safely in orbit with Butch, Wilmore, and Suni Williams in tow, sending it on its way to the International Space Station for docking tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, Starliner safely on orbit, has conducted a good orbital insertion burn, and is on its way.
Starliner, Houston.
Go ahead, Starliner, Houston.
Yeah, you do have good cooling. The sublimator is working. We are watching it, though, because the water usage is just a little more than we thought we were going to see. You probably noticed that. It's a reason for the advisory there. From the ground, we'd like to swap you over to the other leg. So we're going to close sublimator leg 1, wait for about 60 seconds, and then open up leg 2. You'll see us do that. No impact or action.
Okay, we copy. We'll be watching. Thank you.
Joshua Kutrick there again, giving the crew some words about information they're seeing on orbit. This one related to sublimators, which are used to cool the spacecraft down. But just letting them know that there's nothing Nothing that they need to be concerned about. The team will keep watching that. In the meantime, as Starliner begins making its way to the International Space Station, we're going to check in with Rob Navius in the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Rob?
Yeah, thanks very much, Brandy. With Starliner en route to the station, the work now just beginning for Wilmore and Williams. First up, an important rendezvous burn called the NC burn, which will adjust Starliner's altitude relative to the station and begin to refine its path to the orbital laboratory. Flight Dynamics will be assessing the accuracy of Starliner's initial trajectory and will update any adjustments to that trajectory for subsequent maneuvers to be conducted over the next 24 hours. Now, we're expecting to hear the first of 3 audio reports from the crew during their free flight on how the ride uphill to orbit was before they move into what are called far-field demonstrations of the vehicle. That will include manual piloting tasks and a manual translation control test. That will prove Starliner's ability to execute a manual docking if required, as well as an abort capability prior to docking. Keep in mind, we're providing continuous coverage now of Starliner's flight to the International Space Station. On Thursday morning, rendezvous operations will begin in earnest shortly before 10 a.m. Eastern Time, leading to a targeted docking for Starliner to the station at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. So please stay with us around the clock as we bring you every minute of Starliner's flight. For now, we're going to sign off from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston and go back to Megan, Dee, and Mike Fink at the Cape.
Hey, and welcome back to the Space Coast of Florida, where about 36 minutes ago we witnessed the launch of a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the first 2 astronauts, NASA's Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, inside Boeing's Starliner capsule to the International Space Station. The first time ever, Starliner now in the right orbit to rendezvous with the space station in just over 25 hours. How are you guys feeling? How was it to watch launch? Again, just right over the water behind us here.
I mean, this is extremely exciting, obviously a long time coming and a culmination of so much hard work by so many teams. But of course, we're going to be even happier when we see Starliner dock, and even happier when the hatch opens and we watch Suni and Butch float into the International Space Station.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, well said, Dee. I mean, this is exciting. We've built up to this moment for years and years, and it finally happened. I got to see a Starliner launch with my friends on board. How cool is that? And I could feel like the whole planet was cheering for them.
Yeah, it was really nice to see it happen. There were a lot of emotions here at the host desk among the 3 of us, as well as the crew that's supporting us here on the host desk. And it's just a history-making launch. Suni, again, the first woman to test an orbital spacecraft. That's amazing. And then again, the last time people flew to space in an Atlas-class rocket, 61 years ago. CFT, this final test to certify Starliner. And then once in orbit, the first time in NASA history that the agency will have 3 different crew spacecraft operating in space simultaneously. So that's the International Space Station, SpaceX's Crew Dragon, and again, once Boeing Starliner spacecraft gets there, Boeing Starliner spacecraft. So really just like a lot to celebrate. It's amazing. You know, Mike, I know you've been part of Starliner's journey from the very beginning, working alongside Butch and Suni and all the teams across Boeing, NASA, ULA. So talk to us, how does it feel to see this rocket from your perspective?
I was so impressed all the way through the launch countdown and all the way through orbital insertion burn. Everything was just like the final simulation exercise they give us back at Johnson Space Center, where they just give us everything nominal. And there we are. Everything was fine. No hiccups, no drama, nothing to worry about. And so I was really happy with Butch and Suni, and for Butch and Suni, and happy with the whole team. As Butch said, thank you to the United Launch Alliance for a great ride up, and welcome them to the club of rocket companies that can send humans into space. Now we just got to get to space station in 24-ish hours.
And that want to discuss, let me know if you're there.
And we've been asking for some questions on social media, so we still want to get to those because there have been a lot. So why don't we pull up one question here right now? This one's from Ramon. What is your favorite part of being an astronaut, Mike? Is it days like this?
Definitely days like this, Ramon. Very much glad to be an astronaut on this day. I think Butch and Suni might be a little bit happier than me to be an astronaut today, but this is definitely a great day. And if you're not on the rocket yourself, helping your friends is a really great way to be an astronaut.
And so, Mike, talk to us about, this is, again, a crewed flight test. Certification is what's next for Starliner. So what's the process to get us to your flight next year?
Well, first we have to, Butch and Suni, they've gotten to orbit. That's kind of step 1. And now they got to get to the space station and complete their flight test objectives. Once they land safely in a desert somewhere with the airbags, and we'll analyze, the Boeing team will analyze the flight test data, see if any improvements, any changes, any things that can be improved and made, and then we'll get ready for us at the post-certification mission number 1 that we call Starliner 1. I think Dragon had a similar one. They called themselves Crew 1. Well, we're Starliner 1, and we'll be ready to fly when the spacecraft is.
Right. And so obviously there's still a lot on this road for Starliner, but when you do fly next year on Starliner 1, Mike, I know that there's a bunch of people here who are very excited for you, so much so that they created this shirt.
Oh, no.
I love it.
Mike Fink Fan Club. That's right. Oh, he's hiding, guys. He's hiding behind his computer right now.
I am deeply humbled. Thank you.
No, yes. You know, it just goes to show that so many people are invested in Boeing and NASA and ULA working together on the Starliner program. So we celebrated together with the crewed flight test today and launch. And again, we still have so much more of the mission to go, and we can't wait for your flight for Starliner 1. All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again to everyone who submitted questions throughout the broadcast. You really helped to contribute to the broadcast. And Mike, really great to have you here marking this historic launch with us. That's the perfect opportunity, right, to pull up this QR code we have ready for you. If you scan it, it'll take you to go.nasa.gov/CFT, where you will find everything you'd want to know about this crew flight test and also NASA's commercial crew program, which is why we're flying today.
Mike, it's been great to have you with us. Your insight today was important and invaluable.
Thank you very much, and the Boeing company should get a big pat on the back today for a job well done so far.
Yes, again, congratulations to all the team. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate your time here on the official launch broadcast of NASA's Boeing crew flight tests. And that's going to do it for us here on the Space Coast of Florida for Boeing, ULA, and NASA. Thank you so much for watching our official broadcast of this historic cruise. We leave you now with a replay of launch. Have a spectacular day.